Okay. This whole course is about the archery projectile. The archery projectile will consist of 5 components in most of the cases. There's your main shaft, okay, the knock, the vane, the insert, and your points. That pretty much is 5 main sections. The most important part, in my opinion, is indeed the shaft. Just like every single sport, which part can you let go for this thing to do right? Answer is none. Okay? Everybody think of it, the shaft itself is just simply a shaft. That is absolutely not true. That's the reason there's good shafts, there's bad shafts. At the end, halfway through the show, I'll share with you what I think of each manufacturer, the strength and the weakness, so you can focus on based on what you need, what arrow shaft it is, and how you will approach it. Like, since our company's Firenock, I'm going to start on this section right here. Okay. Anybody have any idea how many major sizes of arrow shaft were in the US for hunting purposes? How does 38 sound? There's 38 major sizes for the knock, diameter, and shape in the US, just for hunting. Of course, the moment when you go to target, it goes exponential. Okay. Since it's a dealer class, and I don't know how far you guys want to know, since it's also video for all the YouTube guys, okay, I'm just going to start from the smallest to the biggest. Okay. First, we start with the absolute 3 main sizes, which is your 0.166, the G size, your A size, which is 0.202, your S size, 0.244, okay, and your V size, which is 0.300. Those are your 4 main sizes that everybody was dealing with. As a dealer or as an archery enthusiast, everybody thinks G is 0.166. That's a false assumption. The G size is actually a general size that Eastern came up with, which is originally meant for 0.166, but it's not. Like carbon tech, McKinney, that's 0.165. VAP, 165. Black Eagle, Deep Impact, X Impact, 165. Spear Crossing, 165. The only company who will make 166 doesn't exist. The only time you see the 166 is in the G-knot bushing. Eastern's injection and AC injection are 0.1665. So that's the reason the Firenock 0-knot do not fit the injection right. Because the injection is 0.1665 and the Firenock 0 is 165. We're talking 15,000 difference. Now the moment we look at the size of this shaft, that 15,000 percentage becomes significant. And that's also why we have such a problem fitting it, and nobody told us. Of course, when we finally come back with using the original G-knot from Eastern, figure that it will fit for last year, they don't even fit. They fit the G-knot bushing, but not the injection. Because whoever made the injection screwed up with this 5. And of course, when we called Eastern, guess what? They told us, we recognize the problem, we'll fix it by the end of next year. Well, very nice. Okay, now, why do we make G-knot bushing? Because of injection and all these good arrows, all right? This is what you call the G-knot size. You'll find out with knowing all these sizes is how all the rest of the arrow components that we make works together. The next size is 0.202. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with it. This is technically your gold tip kinetics, your rampages from Black Eagle, your Access, your full metal jackets, your carbon impact, the new thin shaft compared to the old fat shaft. Which means this is where, when Eastern come up with the Access arrow craze, that's where this whole thing come up. Which is also the same as a Carbon Express,
Nano.
not nano, it's the Edge.
Okay.
Which is now rebadged, the Power Driver Extreme. The Power Driver Extreme is an actual Carbon Express Edge that came out in 2004. That whole process, because of the Eastern lawsuit and so on, so they now re-come out because they find out the lawsuit is a little bit questionable, which is not unusual in this industry. The 202 is, to be fair with you, among all the knocks, this specific knock, A-size knock, is Firenock Premier knock. It's the best knock on design, on surface, on clip of all the knocks we ever made. You'll find out the Firenock A knock, the shape of it, is what we actually transfer into the G knock, the B knock, and all the rest of the knocks. The only exception to the rule is our S knock. So if you look for the best consistency, best transmissioncy, best weight to strength ratio, best clipping on the string, the Firenock A is the king. Which is by its mistake. I did not know it would be that good, but it come out that good. Now between these two, of course, Eastern has to be different from anybody. There's a knock called the E, which the Eastern call H knock. This is 0.235. This knock becomes very important for the older archery guys. Why is it so important? Because it is the knock that fit the ACC 349. If anybody in the industry as a dealer would know one of the most important knocks they always have, they always think of G knock with the unit bushing. But if they take the unit bushing out of the G knock, they will find out all the Eastern ACC 349, the Pro Hunter, the Michael Waddell, the Hacks, the Torch, and the old Epic, Excel, that whole line of arrow have only one size. That's the 235 size. That's the size that, fortunate and unfortunate, is the best arrow Eastern made in that class. Is E knock. The E knock is a modified A knock with grooves. But the knock throat is not as clean as A knock. So the E knock being, I'll give you some specs so you know the weight of our systems. The Firenock G is weighed at 3.8 grains. The Firenock A is 5. And the Firenock E is 5.5. If you compare to the normal one, the Eastern G knock is close to 11.
How many grains was the
A knock 5.
5 grains.
So you can see our numbers are just way out there compared to a typical. And the H and our E knock, which is the same as the Eastern G knock in throat. The Eastern H knock is close to 12 grains. In most cases, it depends on which batch you look at. But my E knock is only 5.5 grain. It's the most pristine knock we make for that whole ACC 349, the Michael Waddell, and so on. But they also do something ridiculous. They put a mini unit bushing inside the ACC 349, in the ACC Pro Hunter, in the Michael Waddell, so they can use the X knock, which is the same as the A knock, which is also the same as the F knock in bowling. Yes, the number sequence, nobody can agree. I don't know why, don't ask me, since nobody agrees. Whatever brand you use, you just have to know that brand. Now, this knot is very important for dealer. Now you look at it, as a dealer, we know that in the G knot we have to hold two sizes, which is our G knot and the original. The G knot will be two major G knot size. But as target shooters, can you use my Firenock 0 in the G knot bushing? Answer is yes. The traditional Walmart push it down trim actually works very well. As a matter of fact, for the last 2 years, like Tim Gillingham, a few other guys actually use my Firenock 0. They like the fact the throat of all the Firenocks are consistent. Oh, let's get into it. What is the throat of all the Firenock knocks? A lot of people ask me that question. If I want to make a perfect string to fit the Firenock knock, what is the throat size? The answer is 0.115 inches with a maximum of 0.125. Anything beyond that, you defeat the purpose of the perfect throat. So you build a string, you build it between 0.115 to 0.120. That's this throat size right here. A lot of people never take that into consideration. I will tell you, this is one of the most important things for your entire archery setup. If you don't care about anything and care about this, this is a number you need to know. How come so many people have such a big problem with the Martin archery bows, with the Matthew bows, and some of the Bowtech bows? the string is indeed too fat, and we discover some of the Matthew can actually go to 0.138. If you look at the percentage, that's a 35% increase.
So who's making good strings?
Depends on who you mean by good. That is a very good question. Some of the great string builder, American Best Bowstring,
Yeah.
very decent. Viper X, we just bought by American Best Bowstring. My personal favorite right still and all this year is Pro String out of Minnesota.
Pro string?
Yes, made by a company called West. West is a very good friend of mine. He don't build a lot, but everyone he built is about as good as it gets. Can somebody build better stuff? Yes. There's two of them that have time, like a West who built stage 1 string out of central Pennsylvania. Very, very good guy. And of course there's other people like some people even like Winner's Choice. I personally do not. Winner's Choice, the moment I step, every time I put a string on it, it's always too heavy. And the surfing is not tight enough, at least for my taste. Some people have great luck with it. And you know, there's tons of people who make strings now. Everybody now with the new string jig coming out from Archery Specialty.
Yeah.
It's about as good as it gets, especially the new string. The only thing bad about that machine is that it's too slow. You better have 2 or 3 machines with one guy to get some production speed out of it.
Unless you're making your own.
Exactly. But then you need to ask yourself, how far do you want to go to do that? Okay, now after we talk about H, let's go into the S knot. It's a very interesting knot. That is the first knot we at Firenock made. And it is the most expensive knot we ever produced. Now most knot in the industry, let me go into a little about plastic molding. When people mold plastic, they usually have a mold with many, many cavities, ka-chunk. One mold, you got all 10, 12, 16, 5, 4 down. What does that mean?
Inconsistency.
Exactly, from mold to mold, from flow to flow. So every single knot that take, for example, like a bone-in S knot, double toe knot, that come out, as far as I understand, come with a 16 cavity mold. If anybody would tell you that the knot on this corner and the knot in the middle where they inject plastic is going to have the same identical flow of plastic, I got news for you.
Yeah,
Not going to happen. Second, everybody in the industry, what you call recycled plastic. That means when you cut the plastic, after you take the mold, take the knots out, what happens with those pieces? They just grind it up, throw it back in, and use it again and flow. That's the reason I can guarantee this. Every single one in the entire industry, including Biden knot, the plastics are not perfect. We are the only one who use single cavity, virgin flow plastic for all our knots.
Wow.
Now you understand why a Firenock knot costs close to $2 a piece. And those are not just ordinary polycarbonate. Those are original bare Macalon. We also use the Macalon dye. Now everybody will cheaper say, oh, you can use other dye. That's the reason every one of them are even different color. The weight and the translucency is identical. That's where the difference is. Now, for most people who don't know the difference, it's like telling you, a Ferrari, Yugos are both cars, they both have 4 wheels. You just have to say you understand and be done with it, because there's nothing more to say. Like what they say, you can't fix stupid.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's I got in a conversation with a guy at the show yesterday about your Firenocks and everything, and how cost effective they were. It was like talking to a rock.
Yeah, they don't understand.
I got 29 for 3. I said, yeah, but you throw the $29 away this year and buy $29 next year. You
See,
can't change the battery, you
Can't go wrong.
That is fully okay. We understand some people can just, they grab the money, they put it in their mouth, and then they go and earn some more. There's nothing ever in their pocket. So what difference does it make? They have no saving, they have no planning, they're nothing. And that I understand. But we're not talking about them. We're talking the top 5% above archers who understand, appreciate quality.
Yeah,
I mean, just like people who Mercedes, the guy who drove a Mercedes-Benz SL or drove a BMW M5 and or above, they know how to save money, make money, and appreciate better things in life. And if they don't, they won't be doing that. Now let's talk about the S knot. The S-Knock is such a piece. It is the only 7-piece mold knock out there for a single knock. Think about it, 99% of every single knock. Imagine the knock going in like this, right? You've got an upper mold going up, you've got a lower mold going down, and you've got a piece coming in. That's your 3-piece mold. The Firenock is totally different. See, on most of the knock, on Firenock, you've got ridges right here. Every ridges is coming as radial, which means that if you look at a Firenock throat, those ridges up there come in exactly the direction like this. In other words, they are not just coming like this, they come in like this, and this, and this. So right on there, that's 6-piece right there. And then there's a main shaft. That's the reason when you look at the Firenock S-Knock, 1, 2, 3, 4 ridges are all radial. Why is this so critical? As a dealer, this is actually magical. Because what is S-Knock stand for? Standard. Let's go have fun with standard. What the standard means? The same. It is not the same. S-Knock covered 0.242 all the way to 0.246. That's 4 thousandths variance. Examples. Everything coated, 0.246. Victory, 0.246. Black Eagle, 0.245. Deer Crossing, 0.245. Muddy, 0.245. Carbon Express, 0.244. Eastern, 0.244. Carbon Impact, 0.242. And Carbon Weave, Carforce, 0.243.
Carbon Tech,
Huh?
Carbon Tech.
0.244. Actually, 0.2445 is closer to 2, but a tad smaller. Why? You notice that this is not exactly 90 degrees. Actually, this is closer to a 35 degree. Anybody want to guess why? For the knock?
For the 70-degree offset on your veins.
No, this is the throat of the knock. In other words, we are talking the knock. These 4 pieces on the knock. The ribs on the outside of a Firenock S-Knock.
Oh, just for concentricity.
Exactly. See what happens is that if it is 6, you see perfectly 60 degrees apart, which that is not. That's only 4. Guess what you're able to do? Look at my fingers. Able to do this. Guess what you were able to do? I'm using the polycarbonate as a spring-load system. Now you know that why the polycarbonate had to be so perfect. Because now we're using a spring-load system to accept the entire knock to compress this 4 thousandths with no issue. This is the magic of that 6,000 variance. Because if you don't have this 6,000 variance, you are not going to be able to grab that thing so perfectly. Is it perfect?
It is dead nuts.
Not just that. If you look at the knock right here, on every single Firenock, on every single design, we also have a lip right here. So the moment when you push your Firenock all the way down, you will actually hear click,
Stop.
and then click. That click is what absolutely guarantees the concentricity of Firenock. And it also is a locking mechanism we built into our knock. Now, have anybody not take a close look at knock? Just that knock alone is already worth buying Firenock.
Can't take a closer look, I can't see it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
And that's a gold tip, so.
yes. And then you can put a gold tip out with the same identical knot. You can pull that knot out and push inside the carbon impact for 2 weeks. Pull it out and then push in a gold tip. It will still fit.
I can tell just by the feel the high quality of it. Any string with
You have a string jig is in the other place. No, we don't have that with us.
Yeah.
But the moment now, that's another thing. Since we are in the S now, before we move to the V now and on, I want to show you one very critical part. Everyone in the industry, the knot throat, the throat of the knot. This tiny bit right here. Now, let me show you. This is what a carbon express knot look like. Exaggerated. So another, the string just push in all the way and go to the bottom and push out all the way. When you fire this knot, how many times you touch the string, the knot action? All the way out, moving between the two, rubbing between the two before you go out. Now you're going into a bowling double throw knock.
Yeah, I think I have some of those.
Do you know that these 2 points never matched?
Yeah.
So your string actually goes this way before it comes out. Eastern. Straight. With a tiny thing right here. What does that do to the string and the knot engagement? That means that you're creating knot travel. Think through a process. If your string is perfect and your arrow is leaving your string, you are actually creating knot travel, isn't it? You are forcing your knot to move left to the right, to the left, to the left, just because of all these movements. Now, look at the Firenock knot right here. This is, if you take a closer look, there's a 1.7 degree offset on both sides.
1.7 degree?
Yep, I do all the calculation, take a closer look. It's not straight up, it's offset on both sides. And look at this circle right here is an absolute perfect circle of 0.123 or 2.3 millimeters. What does that mean? That means when the string dropped into this hole, the string was spring in it like was out of style, with free floating up and down, left and right. There's absolutely no issue what happened to that throat. That means, do you have any knot pinch? Do you have any string pinch? When the moment, now remember, we also build the ice factor, ice, which is the plastic memory and release of the knot. Now the moment when you put pressure, what's going to happen to polycarbonate on both sides? It's going to release. Now with the 1.7 degree, when it releases, it's already like this. The moment it releases, what happens to the string? It's going to leave these two notch points and go straight out. When it goes straight out, what happened? With the 1.7 plus over, just in case you want to snap back. Unless you got a bow, actually no matter how slow a bow, less than 130 feet per second, it is not going to touch both prongs. So that means the moment when the string leaves Firenock throat, at this very moment, it's gone. And what's the engagement time? Right here. That's the auto engagement you got with the string. And that also gives you the absolute consistency that you deserve, you're wanting. Because when you put the string, you put any Firenock on the string, the first thing you notice, the sound is different from anybody else because you're actually going through a clip system. Now a lot of people look down and don't think, oh, what's the big deal? Mine might not make sound too. But remember the process. The Firenock make a pristine virgin polycarbonate. The string, we know exactly what it is. Your system have not changed. Which means that for the entire system, go through your string, it will only make one identical tone. How important is that factor? Think with me. When you go 3D, when you go hunting, you do anything, the moment you put your knot on, you should not even look at it. You should look up and then hear click. If that click is not the same tone, what does that tell you?
That you need to replace that knot. Or
There's something wrong with any of the systems.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Now how important is that if you do 3D, they may just have saved your entire tournament. If not, you'll win.
Yeah.
Sometimes even your eye, your arm, your life. It may sound serious, but it is really that serious. Because if the knot have any mistake, your bow will actually blow up. I just got two customers, two of my bows out of Indiana called me. Just when he went all the way, he did not check his knot, he did not pay attention, he was talking, he put his bow on, he shot. Guess what? The previous guy have actually touched his shaft, and he did not pay attention, it's not click. The tone is lower, the entire arrow pushed the knot into the shaft, and the arrow got cut. The string got cut by the open shaft, and the entire bow both backwards. You do not want to find that out that way. Not when you are winning, leading the entire pack. Now you're not winning, you got a broken bow, and you're going home with a broken bow. He should have won podium. See, the average finder who have moved to my knock, if you go to all the ASA or IBO guys who actually been there, the average guy who I have found out is 25 points, the maximum is 50 points for the whole season. But for each of the average points, that's a big. I mean, Ben Barry here, one of the guys who started with me 2 years ago, he was doing so good, he had to jump a full class. So I'm pretty proud of that, you can tell. Okay, now you understand the importance of this throat.
Yeah.
Now this throat, if it is so perfect, why did I not use the S-knot for all the rest of the pieces? I discovered other issues. Cost. That's the E-knot. Polycarbonate is sure not cheap. So what I did is that you notice that I actually changed the prong. And I find out that A prong is so good. I'm learning from what I do in the S prong. And I bring it into the A prong to give an even crispier finish. And you look at that. That's the reason the A prong, the V prong, the E prong, and the Firenock zero prong are all identical. Why do I do that? That means that right now, unfortunately, I'm not going back to changing S-knot because of the variance needed. But I can do all the rest who have minor difference. Like the 235 will never exceed 244, will not drop before above 236. The G-knot is 1.5, the A-knot is 202 to 204. The V-knot is 299 to 301. It never exceeds 2000s. Which means that all the design I have will not have to comply with the S-knot, which I handle 4 to 5 thousandths. By doing so, I can change the entire plastic to a multi-piece mold to a simple 5-piece mold from a 7-piece mold, because they do no longer have to be perfectly radial. And I no longer need the knot to be that thick. Because if you look at the knot throw between the A and the S, should be about a third thin.
Now what, now if it's not as thick as thinner, what about the fatigue?
It actually doesn't matter. It's virgin polycarbonate, it's pristine. If you remember, you drop it on the knot to shut off.
Yeah.
And if there's anything wrong, you feel it first. And that's the reason I stop at the V knot as my biggest, which is handled 300. A lot of people say, why can't I make it bigger? What happens when you get shaft that's bigger than the V size? What other shaft is bigger than V size? 300. Now you go into your 23, your CXL, your carbon, your Black Eagle Challenger, your Victory VH22, which is actually a 23 size, and your really weird, the Fat Boy, which is also a 23. How do you handle all the 30X, the X cutters, or even the big triple, the full bore, the Magnum, the triple X?
The 421s.
Yes, sir. What is, after all this time, for balance and for throw, what is the best knock? The A-knock.
The A-knock comes in, it fits every manufacturer or just?
All the manufacturers, because there's only 2,000 variants. Now, with the A-knock being so perfect, and knowing that Easton's unit bushing expired 2 years ago, we got married. That's the reason we're seeing the trend on how the big arrow going to be. Now, if you guys shoot target arrow, anybody? When you start shooting big target arrows, big fat shaft, aha! But not the typical guys. The CXL.
Yep.
I know my arrows.
You wiped it off last.
Okay, with the CXL, it's 2364 size. Okay. Do anybody know why Carbon Express insists on a bulldog collar?
Because the knocks are so sloppy, it's gotta tighten up and, no?
The end of the shaft mushrooms with fatigue?
No. The shaft, because of the way they weave the carbon,
Oh.
they cannot keep the outside consistency. If you do not maintain it, that whole side backside will actually do this. They got too many knocks got pushed in. Very much the same thing happened to PSU when they made the TEC 15. They got knock pushed in. Technically, this is a Chinese finger puzzle. When you push it, it opens, then it goes in. By controlling the outside, at least you've got the outside structure integrated, controlled. And inside, you usually have a knock. But guess what? Outside, inside, you also protect the knot from a little bit knock hit. A lot of people like the pin knocks, just like this. But there's one problem with the pin knot. Even bite-out pin knocks have issues. They never grab the string perfectly. And when you clip 50 or above times, the knot don't behave the same.
Throw it away.
Which you always have to throw your knot again. And so many times you barely touches it, the knot throw already changed. Okay, let's go back to the A knot and the bigger size. Well, they're all saying you can't put a square peg in a round hole.
Can now.
I just proved them wrong. The new Firenock arrow bushing system is indeed a square peg in a round hole. That is a very, very cool definition. Because first of all, the arrow shaft is indeed round. But in the 23 and above size, the wall thickness is extremely thin, which means the wall has flexibility. And number one problem that everybody have with this class of arrow is that they always have to put wall mark bags and everything to feel the difference on the traditional round insert, round bushing for this round shaft. Problem, they never make right. Not the bushing is not made right, not the shaft is not right. It's that there's too much variation between the two. So something is need to give to pick up the slack. Now if we build a knot like the Firenock S knot, all the way in this size, this knot's going to be 17, 18 grain. If not 100, if not closer to, just like the typical guy will put it, a normal super knot bushing, G knot bushing, how much are they usually?
45 grain.
By the bushing itself, then you throw a 12 grain knot, you are at
32.
no, it's 28 plus 12.
Okay.
It's close to 40.
40.
Now, Firenock come with the arrow bushing. No, I'm exaggerating the size.
Yep.
There's a few things magical about this bushing. Is that this is actually, you start with a round hole, and we machine four sides away. So the edge here is always round and curved. The moment when we put this in, this carbon being so thin, that means all four walls have flexibility. The moment when you push this sort of square hole into it, guess what? We are forcing the curvature of the entire shaft to adhere to itself into this piece, the arrow bushing. But since the way we did it, first of all, there's less material. Second, we just guarantee the concentricity. Third, we have this cap, which actually allow the shaft to go in here and protect. It's an umbrella system. We got very lucky, we got 2 years patent. One is a square peg on the unknown hole, the other one is umbrella system to protect the shaft just in case you shoot from the back. By doing so, we're able to shave significant weight. Now everybody knows, first of all, our A knot is already dropped away from a normal knot by 70%, 65%. Because instead of 12 grain, it is 5. The bushing in the normal one is 25, 28. And anybody want to make a wild guess how much is our bushing for the 23 weights? No, 7. So when you have 7 plus 5 is 11.97 is the actual weight on the this arrow.
Wow.
So now, when you order your stuff or whatever, are the specs on there telling you how much?
Oh, you bet.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you got a chance to
Yeah.
look at my catalog on page, oh, you know why page number? This is actually my textbook,
14.
page 14, on the bushing. See that? 7 grains for the arrow bushing 23. 9.4 the arrow bushing 25. 11 grain for the bushing 26, and 13 for the bushing 27. Those numbers are phenomenal, you know. I know the final weight may be different because we're still testing between 20, 24, 70, 71, and 70, 75 T5. I know the final one will be about 1 or 2 grains heavier, but I think I can deal with it. If anybody don't, go back and use the other bushings. You have choices.
Is the purpose of the machine holes in there is just to reduce weight, or?
You significantly reduce weight, and not to mention give you a much better idea what's going on. Because a straight hole have some issues. Because this can be also used with a Firenock. There's a whole series of end cap system that you can install it, put this on. Now you can use this whole thing using Firenock target systems. But I want to focus on the knock first at this moment. And this is part of the knock called the bushing system. You can see this umbrella system is very important. This is not available for 2013 when we first started this. Because I do not really understand it, I make it exactly the same size.
Yeah.
And during last season, a few customers tell me, when you start using paper punch points and so on, when you rub on the very, very edge of the arrow, you can now peel graphite out of it. Then after discussion with the ASA and IBO rules, I found out that the rule of the components cannot bigger than the shaft and so on only apply to the first 2 threads of the rod, not the backside. Because this is already guaranteed to be bigger. And so is the vein. Because those things do not go into the target, which will not affect your score. Which means that by using umbrella system, we comply with the intent and the spirit of the game. And that's the reason, when I saw that, I instantly make it bigger, which makes removing the bushings so much more easier. Because this is now a lip there on both sides. And not to mention with this angle, which is all the way around, it's called an umbrella system. When your shaft go into it, guess what? Your shaft going to concentrate itself inside this. You will see this design come up very often. Because this is basic pure geometry, in my opinion. And geometry never change. And geometry never lie. And geometry never fail you. If it failed, that means it's bad design. Then I would take full responsibility. So now, which means that we just covered from 0.165 on the knock all the way to 2764. That's quite a bit. And you notice how all the knocks in between? Now, this part may not be applied to you too because you don't shoot crossbow. I want to come
Yeah,
in.
He does. He's got a TAC 15.
Oh!
And it shoots like crap because of that. You're still using the, I have a set of yours, but I still have to put it together yet.
Okay, but the moment you go into the crossbow knives, this is where a lot of dealers are having a nightmare because the crossbow knives are just ridiculous. Of course, Carbon Express being unique, and so is Eastern. I mean unique in a bad way. The industry as a whole is 0.300. That's the ID. And 0.350 is the OD of all crossbow shaft. That's a given. If you vary from that too much, you're on your own. Because then the arrow will not fit the bow, which means that your regular 22 is your maximum size. Anybody want to tell me what 2219 means?
2264 is 19,012 thickness.
Exactly. What is 2260? What is 2264? Which is pretty much this number right now. The 19 wall thickness, which actually is about 25, about 19 is about 23 thousandths. Which means that when you look at a gold tip laser 2, laser 3, they are all 0.300 ID. You look at Victory Arrow, 0.300 ID. You look at Carbon Impact, 0.300 ID. You look at Black Eagle, Firenock, every single K-Max, every single major brand, 0.300 ID. Is there variance to this? Yes. Eastern, 0.298. Why did you do that? I have no idea. They're the only one with the 0.298. But guess what? Because they did it, all the Tech 15 are 0.298. Because they built it long time ago, the Tech 15 original knock come from Jenny. They happen to be 0.298. That's the reason when you put a Firenock D knock on a Tech 15, it's perfect. But you put a Firenock D knock on an aeroboat, it feels like it was 1,500 too loose, which is not feelable. Because remember, we have jumped the size to nearly quadruple the size. So that 1,500 here is no big deal, but 1,500 here is a horrendous deal. Now when you look at the Tech knock, same thing, the knock throat. Now the typical knock in the crossbow world come with two brands, two types. Your flat knock and your so-called moon knock, which is not a moon. And you never, ever, ever want to shoot a knock that look like this, which is made by Eastern. Any bow that shoot over 305 with that knock is guaranteed to crack the shaft. Because the moment you put force in it, you're forced to knock in half like this. Parker actually put out a bulletin. Do not shoot a V-knock with a groove or you void warranty immediately. Because the moment that thing split, it pushed the knock in, guess what? The string is touching the both bow. You blow up the knock, the arrow flying forward with split and the bow goes sideways. You killed everything. There's no recovery whatsoever. Now we look at this knock in 2006 when I first started the company. This don't make sense to me, a flat knock. So we have developed what we call the Firenock C, which is a knock. Look, take a closer look at what the knock look like. What I call a quarter moon knock. A quarter moon knock has three benefits. There's no sharp edges. Just in case it may fire, worst case scenario, you push the arrow around. That would not cause major damage to the string. And in 90% of the time, you recover. But in case of a moon knock, there's no recovery. It's all or nothing, which is about as bad as a flat knock. So that's the reason I come with a moon knock is the Firenock C knock since day one. Which now we later move into a Firenock Y knock, which we make for the Carbon Express crossbow bow. See the C knock? Between the C and the Y knock. See the difference? You notice the C knock is a very unique knock. I was pulling my hair out, knowing the industry is 0.298, 0.300, and 0.303 on the 2219. How do I make a knot with fit all three? How many thousands are there? 6,000. How do you cover 6,000 with structural integrity and strength? Unlike this.
Six-piece die? No?
Doesn't work. Plastic can only go so much. You notice that's on the Firenock C. The C knot have two grooves on it. You're looking at Firenock Y. See that there's two grooves on the Firenock C.
Yeah.
It comes with 30 O-rings. So, just like the Firenock catalog, on page 6, that's a chart teaching you, if you do 0.298, you put two of the thin O-rings. You do 219, you put two of the thick O-rings. You do 300, you put one thin, one thick. I got the whole thing covered. With a magic 24 O-rings for 6 knocks. It was a moment of happiness for me. Because then as I move forward to 2008, everybody understand how good Firenock C-Knock is. Although everybody, I don't care who you talk to, you can shoot an Excalibur 10-point rigorage with a C-Knock. It will not die. You do not have to shoot a flat knock. But I understand, and I won't argue anymore. Flat knock it is. I will make you one. So everybody go home happy. And guess what? As time goes on, what happened to 10-point and Excalibur? 10-point and Excalibur? They make that bow with a longer and longer power stroke, more and more powerful string. They have to admit to people, flat knock can't work anymore. But they don't want to go back to C-Knock. Guess what they come up with? The Omi knock, the universal knock from Bowtech. What did they do? They find a C, and then they do this. Instead of putting 2 grooves, they put 6 grooves on it. So you can put on bow in any shape or form, and it will be supposedly hit one of those grooves. Which means that when you install this knock, it better be damn perfect, or else you're going to blow up worse than any of those. But it is the right way to do it. And by the way, if you don't do this, we'll void your warranty. Now, it's like Chevy telling you, if you don't buy Firestone tires, you'll void your warranty. I'm buying my Pirellis.
Yeah.
And I believe most of my customers are not that dumb. They will not be able to load correctly of a knock. Now, after this general stuff, and then go back to the Y knock. You notice the Y knock is very unique in size, which is this much bigger in size compared to the C knock. Want to make a wild guess? Because the carbon express arrow is so high in fiberglass, it needs something to take the shock absorbing, or else that thing's going to blow. And that wall thickness is so thick. That's the reason, by understanding what Carbon Express did, and they can't put a bulldog collar on all their crossbow bolts, because we scratch the shit out of the rail.
Yeah.
They actually have to make a super long and heavy knock. And since their wall thickness is not any of the above, but 0.285, 15,000 thicker. I finally draw my line. I will make one knock to fit them and one knock only. That's it.
Okay.
And for the record, they have changed that knock ID 3 times in the last 5 years to fool with me. And so I built a system. You handle 0.53 to 0.8253. So we cover that 3,000s of all the variants they have. So that will work. And just like all the Firenock knocks, I recommend touch on the knob outside, touch a little string wax before you install it. It will help you a lot, because when you're starting with full metal jackets, access arrows, or any shaft that you know the ID is not perfect, the string wax will release the stress on the polycarbonate and cause it less to fracture. So, full metal jacket, TAC 15, all the rest of those class of arrow, whose inner ID are not perfect, always, actually for all arrows, put a bit string wax on the arrow shaft before you install that. Now finally, go back to the containment knot, which I come up with.
You put it on the interior of the knot?
On the knot itself.
Oh, okay, on the knock itself, all right, so not the inner diameter of the shaft.
No, it's always on the knot. So finally, we go back to the 3 very interesting pieces, which is the Firenock DJQ. The DJQ is actually an extension of the V. And the DJQ technically make Firenock. Because the moment when you go to high-speed crossbow bow, there's nothing better than DJQ. The D knot, the J knot, and the Q knot, which is 165, 155, and 145. This has nothing to do with the ID of the shaft. This is with the OD of the serving. Now, take a closer look at what this will do. The 145 will handle 138 to 147. This will handle a 163 all the way down to a 137. This will handle 170 to 158. Why such variance in some of perfect size? Because when you deal with servings, the way the serving was wrapped, the wax, the use of the serving and the serving shape will change with time. One thing that is absolutely critical, the moment when you do with a crossbow, you look at a serving string. If it's out or round, find a good guy to reserve it. Don't take chances. That's your only linkage to life on your arrow shaft. You do not want to find out the hard way. And now think about it. If I do want to make a full containment knot for these three systems, go back to the traditional method. The C knot will cover all of them. What are the benefits? Why do I go through all this trouble to create DJQ knot? With a Type 15, it's obvious. That is no rail. If it doesn't clip onto the string, it's not holding it. But that also makes Type 15 unique, because it technically got a crossbow on a bow. Because it got one thing that no other crossbow have, an arrow rest. Which is also make the Type 15 the only tunable crossbow at this moment, until later. The J-Knock actually went through one full revision. When it first came out, it was meant to be 0.148 to 0.158, and that's it. But the industry as a whole changed. First of all, the crossbow goes superbly fast, and we have to control the engagement of the knot with the string. And they also redesigned a lot of crossbow triggers. In the old days, when you have a string right here, okay, your dog is right here coming down to hold it. And there's nothing here. You can put a prong all the way through here. Guess what? Bowtech, Mission, Barnett, all have decided to design an anti-dry fire system that stopped right here, which make a long prong knot no longer work. That's the reason I designed the J knot, which is a short prong knot compared to a DJQ. DJQ, J, D, Q. You can see the D and the J is the D and the Q is significantly different in width. The D is a 165 throat. This is where the magic is. The inside throat is where the engagement point of that is. The knot inside is bigger and smaller. You want to grab the string just right so you have engagement points.
How can you tell visually what the difference between these two?
Very easy. One is much bigger than the other.
Okay, yeah, I see.
See that this is much wider? That's the D knot.
Okay.
Now if you look at a question, if you look at the side of the Firenock knot, there's a big character called D or J. And you will see the number 1 next to it. It telling you that at this moment I'm still on mode 1 of that exactly mode of that piece. Now you also look at that two knot take yours truly quite a bit of thinking to do it. You notice on both sides of the knot there is a groove on it, on the top and the bottom of the knot. Guess what that groove is for? On every single DJQ knot, there's a groove on top of both sides. People say, well, then you don't know whether they're the top or the bottom. Answer is that you don't need the knot to know the top or bottom. When you do a crossbow, where is the knot? Inside. The only thing better is the core feathers. Guess what the grooves are for? Anti-drive-by engagement. That's the reason our knob, since day one, is designed for anti-drive-by engagement. Because there may be another piece right here in front of the dog that will actually tell that you cannot overclick the latch and the shear of the dog. Without that piece, we know that most of the guys who think of doing design a simple knob just don't work. Because now you need to think through the whole process, what you're trying to do. You now do engage the top side. That's the reason my D-knob works so well in Tech 15. Because every single piece of it is already part of the deal. Next thing, you look at the prongs. They're perfectly round and super stubby. That's the design reason for it. Because when you're holding a 4,000 or 5,000 grain arrow and you do this to shut off Firenock, you know you're not going to break a prong. I hope I'm making sense so far.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that pretty much concluded the knock section of the Firenock sessions. Any questions? All right, let's give a 15 minutes break. We're going for the next round.